Regular viewers may remember that last year I tested the new Ford Focus ST line, and earlier this year I tested the new Ford Focus Active Estate. Well, guess what? I have another one, only this time this car has no Focus badges on it. Instead, I have Vignale badges. But what exactly is Vignale? Vignale is the trim level reserved for the range-topping versions of the Fiesta, Mondeo, Cougar, Edge, and of course the Focus, and as such I get more luxury in here. I have leather on the dashboard, I have wood effect trim, and I get these very sumptuous leather seats which can only be found for this model. They are plush, comfortable to sit in all, a very nice place in which to park your bottom. The Vignale also offers up these 18-inch liquid aluminium alloy wheels, which, how can I put this? They're a bit blingy, but it doesn't stop there, because you also get a bespoke front grille which looks rather fancy, and you also get different bumpers. And last but not least, you have this exclusive paintwork. It's called Dark Mulberry, and it can only be found on the Vignale. Now, I will admit it is an optional extra, and in my opinion it's an option you should probably avoid, because I don't think it's a particularly nice colour, although that is subjective. So let's move on, shall we? This extra luxury does of course come at a price though. If you go for the 5-door hatchback, the Vignale starts from £26,145, but if you go for the Estate, the starting price is £27,245. On top of the extra Vignale touches I mentioned earlier, you also get standard features such as LED headlights, LED front fog lights with cornering function, 8-inch touchscreen with navigation, smartphone connectivity, Bluetooth and DAB radio, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone climate control, keyless entry, park assist, front and rear parking sensors, rear wide view camera, head-up display, and a B&O sound system with 10 speakers. The car you see here though is actually £31,575, because I've got the 1.5 litre EcoBoost engine, and I've also got a few optional extras including the dark mulberry paint, adaptive front lighting system, wireless phone charging pad, driver assistance pack, panoramic roof, hands-free tailgate, and blind spot monitoring. Right, time to move things on and talk about the space. The Focus Vignale is just like any other Focus, which is by no means a bad thing, because it means it offers a lot of space. This car has the optional hands-free tailgate, so if I swipe my foot along like so, hopefully it will open. Hey presto. Once the tailgate has opened, you will be greeted by 608 litres worth of space, which I'm sure you'll agree is very usable. The opening for the boot is wide, it is practical, there's no nasty step into the boot, and the load lip is low. So loading this car should be very easy, especially if you go for the hands-free tailgate. But what if you want even more space? Well, you can of course fold down the 60/40 rear seats, which is very easy. You've got a lever either side. Oh, that seat hasn't gone down. There's one for the bloopers. Well, normally they should go down. Let's pull the other lever. Oh, there we go. They both went down together. That was a bit strange. But anyway, it is very easy. The luggage cover can be removed just as easily. You've got a fabric strap which you pull out like so, and that slips itself out very nicely. Let's pop it down here. And yes, once you've done that, you get 1,650 litres worth of space. Other practical elements of the boot, you've got hooks either side on which you can hang your shopping. Very practical indeed. You've got a 12-volt socket, and you even get a spare wheel. It is a space saver, but it's better than a tyre repair kit, isn't it? So that's underneath here. By the way, this boot is adjustable like that. And there we go, you've got the space saver spare wheel, and you also have the amplifier for the B&O sound system as well. As always, the driver's seat has been set for me. I'm 6'2", so I am of course a taller chap. Let me step in like so and make myself comfortable, which is pretty easy because I've got a good amount of knee room and I've got plenty of leg room. However, it isn't all good news in here, because I've got the optional panoramic roof, which is lovely. It makes the inside more airy, but it does cut into rear headroom. So I've just about got enough. I've probably got about an inch or so to spare, but if you were taller than me, you would struggle. But of course, this is an option. You don't have to have it. Now, could you fit 3 adults in the rear? I think you could. It may be a little bit tight, particularly for your middle passenger, but thankfully the transmission tunnel is pretty minimal. Now, of course, you want to fit 3 children in here, that should be fine, and you do have ISOFIX points. But if you only happen to have 1 or 2 people in the rear, they can make use of the centre armrest for better comfort, and there are also 2 cup holders. So I've got 2 bottles of drink here. I've got 500 millilitres and 850 millilitres, and they both fit in just fine. And what I really like, it's a really simple yet effective feature. The cup holders have got prongs in them, so they keep your bottle or your can secure. Very handy. Of course, you also get door bins, which again offer a good amount of practicality. I can fit in my larger bottle of drink in there with no real complaints. I've got a 12-volt socket, so those in the rear can take it in turns to charge their mobile or their smartphone or their tablet on the go. And you do also have netting on the back of the front seats, which, if I'm honest, reminds me of an old mini cab. The front of the Focus Vignale is also a practical and spacious place to be. The door bins are of a very good size. I can fit in my larger bottle of drink with no complaints, and I've got a bit of space left over for a snack bar or perhaps a chocolate bar. I've also got a compartment to the right hand side of my steering wheel, which isn't very big, but you can put 1 or 2 smaller items in there. You've got a cubby hole down here in the middle where you can pop your smartphone, and as an option I do have the wireless phone charging pad, so I can charge my phone wirelessly as I drive along. But if you don't happen to go for that option, you do have a USB port, and you also have a 12-volt socket to fall back on. You've got a sunglasses holder up here, handy for those summery days, although it has gone a little bit cloudy for today, so let's pop these back. You have a little slot here where you can keep the car key or perhaps some loose change. Cup holders here, and what I like about these is that you have plastic bars that you can use to adjust the size of the gap needed for your bottle. So I can adjust it like so for that bottle, and for my larger bottle I can create a bigger space. So I think that's very practical. You've got a front centre armrest which is adjustable like so. You can slide it forwards or backwards. Lift it up and you'll find a cubby hole, a decent sized cubby hole at that. You have a little tray where you can pop some loose change or a smaller item that can be removed if you want to. You have a USB port in here, and as I mentioned, you have a decent amount of storage, and you've also got a pen holder if you need such an item. And last but not least, you do get a glove box, which once more offers a good amount of space. And what I quite like is you have a separate shelf for the owner's manual, so it doesn't clog up the main part of the glove box. And yes, the glove box offers a good amount of space. Overall then, the inside of the Focus Vignale is practical, but what else would you expect? It's a Focus. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the driving position. Getting a good, comfortable driving position is easy. The steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach like so, and my driver's seat is 6-way electronically adjustable, so making yourself comfortable in this car is as easy as 1, 2, 3. As I touched upon earlier, I have the 1.5 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged EcoBoost petrol engine. It offers 182 horsepower with 240 newton meters of torque. If you prefer it in pound-feet, that's 177. So this engine is essentially a detuned version of the one used in the Fiesta ST. Even so, it offers a good amount of pulling power. The power delivery is linear, the in-gear performance is good, so you shouldn't find you need to change gear that often, although even if you did, that wouldn't be a chore because this 6-speed manual gearbox is pretty slick and it's got quite a mechanical change to it. It is definitely a pleasing gearbox. Now, if you do prefer to have an auto, you can have an 8-speed auto, which I've used. It works pretty well, although me personally, I would rather have the 6-speed manual, but for this type of car I imagine the 8-speed automatic will be quite popular. Now yes, this car is quite punchy. It makes progress pretty effortlessly and it feels more nippy than what I was expecting. 62 miles per hour is dealt with in 8.5 seconds and the top speed is 137 miles per hour. I quite like this engine. But what if you don't? Well, thankfully for you, there are a choice of 3 others. You can either have a 1 litre EcoBoost petrol, which offers 125 horsepower, or you can have a choice of 2 diesels. You can have a 1.5 litre EcoBoost, which offers 120 horsepower, or you can have a 2 litre EcoBoost diesel, which offers 150 horsepower. All of the engines are available with the 6-speed manual gearbox or the 8-speed automatic. So don't think that, oh, if I go for this engine or that engine, I won't get this gearbox or that gearbox, because, well, thankfully, you can have your cake and eat it. Thanks to its 3-cylinder configuration, this engine does make quite a nice thrum as you drive along. Let me give it the beans. It does have a bit of a growl to it, which I do rather like. But it's never boomy, it's never shouty, even when you take it right up to the red line. And that is because the Vignale has been designed in such a fashion that it is quieter than your standard Focus. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really notice the difference. So this car has got active noise control to stop any droning noises coming to the cabin, although I'm in here and you can still hear me, so it's not doing a very good job at that, is it? And I've also got different glazing, so I've got double glazed windows. So would I say it feels especially quiet in here? Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but it's not quite as serene in here as I would have expected. And I think it's mostly down to the fact that the 18-inch alloys, they do make quite a bit of road noise, which I do find quite disappointing for this type of car. There's also a bit of wind noise as well from the wing mirrors on the motorway, but it's not a massive complaint, more of an observation, I'd say. Now let's move on from refinement and onto the ride. The ride is good, but if I'm going to be honest, it's not quite as good as I was expecting. Now once you get up to speed, like I am now, the ride is good. It flows quite nicely, it's quite smooth, it's controlled, but at low speeds you are likely to find it is quite busy and quite bumpy, which, yeah, I must admit was a bit of a negative surprise, an unpleasant surprise, I should say. However, like I said, once you get up to higher speeds, the suspension does work itself out nicely and it is comfortable. And of course, you've got these lovely, comfortable leather seats, which are very nice to sit in. They are very nice. You kind of mould yourself into them. It's like a memory foam mattress. Yes, they are pretty divine, I have to say. Right, so once again, it is time for Ask Aaron, the segment in which you guys ask me questions about whichever car I am testing. I must admit, I got more questions than I expected for the Focus Vignale, so I'll go through them as quickly as I possibly can to get through them all. Right, first question. Do you age after driving it? That's a bit random. I don't think so, although I am starting to notice a few more grey hairs, so maybe, who knows. Next question. Why is it an awful colour? Well, looks are subjective, but yes, the colour isn't fantastic, is it? Why is it this colour? I don't know, ask Ford. Could you review a Renault next? No, I've got an Audi TTS coming next. Is it worth the money? Good question. I would say yes, however, if you were to go for a titanium or a titanium X, I'm pretty sure that would meet your needs just as good. Well, just as well, I should say. So although it is nice having the extra plushness for this car and it is worth the money, it kind of isn't worth the money, if that makes sense. Value. I think the titanium and titanium X are better value. I think that's what I'm trying to stab at here. Oh, the camera's there. I've been looking for you. You keep moving. Right, next question. Do the front seats feel more comfortable than those from the titanium or the ST line? Well, I've not driven a titanium, so I can't really comment on that, but I have driven the ST line, and yes, these seats definitely feel more comfortable than the ST line, but even the ST line was pretty agreeable when it came to comfort, and the front seats were pretty nice, but of course, these seats are even nicer. Is there a quieter interior similar to other Ford Vignale models, and has other glass been fitted for this? Well, it is a little bit difficult to say because the only other Vignale model I've driven was the Edge Vignale, and that was quite some time ago, about 2 years ago, so it is difficult to build a comparison, but I can compare it to the Focus ST line and the Focus Active. And to be honest, this car doesn't feel much quieter than either of those cars. I think the road noise doesn't help. Yes, different glass has been fitted to this car. This car's got thicker glass. I believe it is double glazed. So that does help, and you've got the active noise control. But because of the road noise and the wind noise from the wing mirrors at speed, I don't think this sounds any quieter than a standard Focus. But maybe I need to drive another Focus and this car back to back to give you a more definitive answer. But on the whole, it doesn't sound any quieter to me. Right, next question. Oh, you're there. Right, do you really need all of those features in a small family hatchback / station wagon? Well, you don't need them, but surely it's nice to have them. And the last question, would you rather buy this car or buy a second-hand BMW 3/5 Series that is a couple of years old? That is a good question, and as lovely as this car is, I'm sorry Ford, I think I'd go for the Beamer. Right, there we go. Ask Aaron, done and dusted. Bloody, that's got my notes on it. I've got them. Yeah. I have 3 driving modes. I have normal, eco, and I have sport. At the moment, I've got it in normal, and even in normal, this car feels quite responsive, and the steering weight is pretty good. But of course, when you put it into sport, the car becomes more responsive and you get heavier steering as well, which I do rather like. That brings me quite nicely onto the handling. This car is a Focus after all, therefore the handling is pretty good. The steering has got a good weight to it, especially in sports mode. The feedback isn't too shabby, and I've got a good amount of grip thanks to the Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres I have at each corner of the car. One thing I will say though, is I do find in this Focus compared to the other 2 I've tested, the steering in this car is a bit too quick to self-centre. You turn the corner and you can feel the steering wheel kind of tugging at you, as if to say, no, back to the middle, back to the middle. I wouldn't say it's a complaint, but more of an observation. I didn't experience this in the other Focuses. Focus models. That's easier. The body roll is also pretty well controlled, and this car doesn't feel that heavy through the bends. Now, I won't say it feels nimble because, well, it doesn't, but it doesn't feel like a big heffalump. And this is quite an enjoyable car to throw through the corners. So time to touch upon fuel economy. This engine on a combined run, Ford states will offer me 44.1 mpg, and in my experience I've come pretty close to hitting that. I've been getting high 30s, low 40s, so yeah, I have come pretty close. In regard to emissions, this engine emits 126 grams per kilometre of CO2, so for the first year of VED, you'll be required to pay £170. Now, if you want even more economy, then take a look at the 1.5 litre EcoBoost diesel, as that offers on a combined run 62.4 mpg, and it emits 99 grams per kilometre of CO2, so for the first year of VED, you'll be required to pay £150. What about safety? Like other Focus models, the Vignale is able to boast a 5-star Euro NCAP rating, thanks to standard features such as 6 airbags, autonomous emergency braking, speed limiter and post-collision braking. So, time to wrap up. Wait for it. Hello. So why should you buy the new Ford Focus Vignale? Well, it is a very nice place to be. It's comfortable, it's premium, it's spacious, it's practical, and it offers a good amount of kit and safety. But a lot of those points can be said for a standard Focus. So why shouldn't you buy this car? Well, obviously this won't be the best value out of the Focus range. The paint is iffy, the chrome wheels are simply too blingy for me, and depreciation is likely to be a big problem for this car. Overall, I do like what Ford has tried to have done with this car. It is a nice place to be, as I mentioned a few moments ago, and it's a very pleasant car to drive. But it is a difficult one to recommend because I think a titanium or a titanium X or even an active is a good focus to have. So dare I say this car is quite niche, maybe incredibly niche. It's a nice car, but it's not overly easy to recommend in my opinion, especially when you could buy a used BMW 3 Series. So yes, little surprise, I've seen very little of these on the road. Anyway, time for me to wrap up. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If so, be sure to like, subscribe, and to ring my bell so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession. Right, I'm off. Bye. Oh, hang on, I need you.